Hi, everybody. Welcome. Got early birds here. Glad to see you. Ooh, pardon me. It's been a long week. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, Mary Lou, thank you. Ooh, excuse me.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, welcome.
Hi, good morning. I'm
Morning.
I'm Jonathan Tomines. How are you?
Fabulous. Nice to see you. I am good on this Friday morning. I hope you're good too.
Am I the first one?
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay.
All the little boxes are filling up, which is
Okay.
good to see. It's our residential service providers this morning. Hey, there's my little alarm telling me it's 10 o'clock. I'll let folks jump on in. You guys were all the early birds. I'll give people a minute to get on and we'll get started because your time is valuable, right? An hour
Of
to have
course.
this discussion.
We're all very valuable while we're trying to figure out rate reform.
Like we're stopped having folks enter the meeting, so welcome everybody. I hope you are in the right place. This is a rate reform meeting for our residential service providers, and specifically we targeted our service providers with service codes. I have to pull out my little cheat sheet here: 109, 113, 905, 915, and 920. And my name is Liz Harrell. I'm the manager of our Community Services Department here at the Eastern Los Angeles Regional Center. And we're going to spend the next hour talking about what we know is coming in rate reform, what we think is coming in rate reform, and how we all are going to end up working together to ensure we get through and hit the dates we need to hit to move things along. All right, so thank you all again for being here. I'm going to ask people to mute unless you are presenting, and then we'll definitely can take questions during. This is a comfortable environment for questions, and you can certainly put things in the chat as well. So again, we're talking about residential, and so for our residential providers, Just starting off with understanding that we do not yet have any directive or guidance from DDS yet, from the Department of Developmental Services, from DDS yet in regards to residential, but we do anticipate getting written guidance any moment now. So let's start by taking a step back, and I'm going to do a real quick high-level overview of rate reform, right? So rate reform started 2019, it really launched, okay, and it rolled out in phases, okay? So you all should have participated in these phases and seen these gradual increases. Phase 1, there was a little bump up. Phase 2, there was a little bump up. And now we're going into phase 3. Phase 3 is going to be the final bump up, okay? But there's some differences with phase 3. A couple of things are different about phase 3. One thing about phase 3 is that that last bump up is not going to be whole. It's going to be only 90% of what you see as the rate model. In order to make it whole, you must participate in the provider directory that is being launched by DDS. We're going to talk more about the provider directory in this meeting in a little bit, but I have to emphasize that you must participate in the provider directory in order to be made whole for the phase 3 increase to your rate. And before I hear it from everybody, because we hear it in every meeting, we hear it in the public meetings, we hear it via email, the department's not getting back to people in a timely manner on the directory. So if you are running into issues with that, I am so sorry. We are here to support you. All we can do is encourage you to continue to try and to communicate with the department. I'm going to introduce you to someone who is in charge of it here at our regional center who can help you, but she can only do so much without running to Sacramento and knocking on the door for them to get back to you. So I just want you to know that. Again, we're going to come back to the provider directory. The other thing that is sort of the focus of our meeting is really the other part of phase 3 of rate reform. The other part of phase 3 of rate reform is the alignment of service codes. DDS, the state of California, as part of this sweeping rate reform, and we're meeting with 10 different provider groups over the next couple of weeks, and we'll probably continue to have these meetings with you all. What's happening is that the department is really trying to ensure that the service codes align across the state of California, okay, that they make sense, so that the service code as described at East LA Regional Center, the way it's also being provided that way at North Bay Regional Center and San Diego Regional Center, that it's all very clear and just frankly more streamlined and fair for our provider community. So to that end, there are changes that have to be made in coming weeks, okay? There are, I shouldn't say changes, there are activities, but there could be changes that have to be made in coming weeks. We don't know exactly what that is because we don't have it in writing from the department yet, from DDS, the Department of Developmental Services. We have to get those instructions from DDS to know what the next steps are. But based on what we know that for our residential providers, there's going to be a new kind of level system, right? You probably have seen that. And we're going to take a look at the rate models. I'm going to have Doris do that in just a little bit. We're going to take a look at the rate model so we know that there is a change coming. How you plug yourself into what level, those details are what's going to be outlined in the directive we don't have yet, and hopefully the department will be releasing within the next couple of weeks. Because what has to happen is by March 31st, by the end of March, everybody needs to decide what service code they are, what level they are. That has to be in place. That has to be in place. I'm going to go through the deadlines, some milestone deadlines again, because that's a middle one. So January 1st of 2025, just a couple of weeks away, there is a rate increase coming your way if you're affected by rate reform. That rate increase is going to be, remember, mainly about 90%, okay? And then 10% to be made whole is the directory. That goes into effect January 1st based on the service code you have right now based on the level you have right now. Okay, that's going to happen no matter what. Now, between now and March 31st, we need you to figure out, and then come to us, and then we all come to an agreement, what level your home is, what level your services are. You will sign an attestation. We'll line it all up. We'll tell the department, and the new rate will go into effect. That has to be done by March 31st. The other deadline is the end of the year of 2025. So by December 31st of 2025, so just about a year from now, any changes to IPPs or IFSPs, any service plans, planning team decisions, any authorizations that need to change will need to be in place. So there's a full year to get those in place based on the changes that may result in the changes of your level, service code, etc. So I'm just checking my cheat sheet to make sure I'm covering everything I need to cover. Okay, so what I'd like to do, I want to show you where you can get more information about rate reform. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to stay on top of rate reform. The fact you came to this meeting tells me you're doing it. Thank you. I wish we saw a lot more faces out there, to be honest, because you need to stay on top of rate reform. We get the info, we get it out as quick as we can to you. But one of the things you definitely can do, if you haven't done it already, I'm going to share my screen, is go to the DDS website, go to rate reform. It's right there on the front page. Go to directives and updates. You will see the latest directives and updates. But one of the things you can definitely do, see provider directory news, provider directory updates. Show you this one right up top, join the email list. Go in and join that email list. You'll get all the updates when we get them. And so you'll get inundated with updates from them and from us, but better more information right now than not enough information. Okay, so back to rate reform. The other thing to do on this page, rate reform page, I'm going to take a step back, is look for the meetings. There will be webinars. The department yesterday held their first webinar for those providers who have service codes for adaptive skills and behavioral services. It was about an hour and a half long. They had released the directive. They went through the directive. We're actually meeting with those providers later today. It is very valuable to hear it straight from the department when that time comes. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, we will notify you as well in regards to that. The other thing about rate reform, you can go to it via rate reform or right down here. There's the little highlight right now about the provider directory. Again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the provider directory in a bit, but you can get all the information about the provider directory. Who do you call or contact about the provider directory? And a little fact sheet about the provider directory is also there on the DDS website. I do want to point out, we also do have a rate reform page on our website for you as well that we do maintain, but basically I'll tell you, it's links back to the DDS site pretty much, because that's where the info is on rate reform. So what I'd like to do is actually, Doris, I have to tell you, she may not want me to, she's a trooper, she's not feeling great. So I hope you've drank your tea, and I'm going to give it over to you if you can go through the rate models and expand on what I've shared so far.
Definitely. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
All right. So my voice is a little rough, but hopefully we'll get through these meetings today. When the professor repeats something 3 times, it's important. It'll be on the test. In this case, it'll be in real life. On the DDS website, from that rate reform page, you can go into the complete rate models by regional center. Each regional center has their own rate structure that takes into local cost factors. This box in column A, row 1, explains that these rates are built on assuming that you've met your quality incentive payment, the service provider directory, sign up and validation. And these rates in column D revised rate January 2025. This is the column you're going to be looking at, D, and I'm going to page down to residential services, and you'll see that there are levels 2 through 6. As Liz said, we don't have the operational definitions of what's a new level 4 going to look like. What do you need to provide in order to reach level 6? So that you'll have to read that directive and see where you align. They are keeping the 4 bed or less model and the 5 or more bed model. There will be rates for adults and for children facility. There are continuing to be owner operated rates only for what will be the new levels 2 and 3. The expectation is level 4 or above was going to require a staffing pattern above kind of a mom and pop model. There will be level 7, which is a negotiated rate above, for example, the 4 bed or less adult model. So some of you 113s, maybe that's where you are going to align. But you won't be keeping your 113 service code unless you are an ARF push-in. So that is an adult residential facility for persons with special health care needs. We have less than a handful vendored in ELARC's area, and those will be the only ones that will maintain the 113s. The rest will be assigned the service code that matches with their rate model. The supplemental residential program support will, I think, will remain 109. We don't have the guidance in writing. The January 1st rate will be based on 90% of 3154 will be your base, and then the incentive payment will be 10% or a little over $3 of that. For those of you who stop doing residential program support because you are losing money on every hour that you paid the staff because of the rates, that is something that we can look at once this realignment settles down, and we can see if there's a need for change level or for program support. Any questions about the rate models and the upcoming phase 3 rates?
Doris, this is Rhoda. I have a question. So you mentioned only the ARF cushions would be utilizing service code 113, and then the rest would be using a level comparable to their rate. I didn't see a level comparable to the rates that we have for our specialized residential facilities, unless I missed that.
They're probably going to fall into a level 7, which will not be set by the department. It will continue to be negotiated. If what we've been informed by DDS continues through into the written guidance.
Okay.
So, and then,
Doris, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Eldon Teeper with Mercedes Diaz Homes. For those 113s that have approved health and safety waivers, how will those be affected?
The health and safety waivers will be in place through the end dates that DDS has provided. If there is a new rate for the rate model that is at or above the health and safety waiver, then we would move to the rate. The waiver would no longer be needed. But if the health and safety waiver rate is above the rate model, then it would continue. And I would recommend at least a month before those waivers are going to expire, those rates, the higher rates, to connect with the facility liaison and their supervisor so that they can get a request for an extension in. I would say do that 2 months so we can get
2
the
months, okay.
extension to DDS 1 month ahead of time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's helpful.
good questions. Any other questions? Okay. So we don't have anything in writing to give you yet. When we do, we will get that to you, and we may in fact have another meeting. But I do want to share something we do know, and it's about process. As I said, this is just one meeting with one group of service providers, right? We have a whole array of services and service codes. We're going to have to help, kind of shuffle through this situation. And so we've got to map that out within a very tight timeline. So we're going to be setting up a system in place. We literally just started working on that yesterday, had a meeting with my counterparts around how folks are doing that. And what we really anticipate is we're going to need to rely on you to be in communication with us, right? So that means, and I just want to, I'm going to share something with you in a moment, but that means starting to look at now, as soon as we have that directive, say, okay, I'm going to be a level 6, whatever that is. Okay. This makes sense to me. Okay. We're going to get to you an acknowledgement form. I can show you what that acknowledgement form sort of looks like, okay, based on the department's template for it. We're going to send you the workbook. You're going to take a look at that. You're going to figure that out and let us know, okay? And then we have to kind of work from there. We say, oh yeah, that makes sense, and it moves on. Or if we have questions, we're going to reach out to you. Or we may need to, if we find there's a whole bunch of them where it's like, oh, this doesn't make sense, we'll have a workshop or something, and we'll work together. Bottom line is we'll need to move it along once we get the information, and we've got to rely on you to do that and then be with us, and then, we'll keep it moving along. So what I want to share with you, now I mentioned to you, come on, why is my screen not sharing? All right. Here's the rate model. So if I go to rate reform, okay, and I go to directives and updates. Now, I mentioned that yesterday or 2 days ago, time is flying, they did release their first directive. It was for adaptive skills and behavioral services. But part of that is what's called Enclosure A. This is a template. Okay, this is a template. I anticipate us at this regional center, we will modify this to hopefully make it a fillable document. What I would like to do is make it a smart document where you will be able to fill it electronically, submit it, and we'll be able to track it. But it is anticipated this, so you can look at this now, okay? It's too early to fill it out because we don't have guidance, but you can look at this now and see this is the information we're going to need to get, right? We're going to need to get in place. This is an attestation, basically. And what you're doing, you're going to fill this information out and then see for residential services, they've already got it here. What's your current level? What's your new level? Okay. It says here, you agree the information in the workbook. So we're going to have to send you the workbook. The workbook will show the rates, etc. You sign it. And then we are able to, once this is signed and we're all in agreement, we would go forward with the new rate. That has to be done by March 31st. That has to be done by March 31st. January 1st, you're getting an increase based on what you are now. But by March 31st, that has to be done. And whatever that says is going to be your new rate. So if your rate looks like it might be higher, it will behoove you to do it quicker, right? The quicker you get it done, the quicker you get the new rate, right? So I wish I had a directive to give you. I wish the department had released it, but they are known to release many directives on Friday evenings. So I will keep my email. I'll be checking it over the weekend and get it out to y'all if we do get it. What I would like to also share with you, there is another directive in place, and I just want to walk through it with you. You may find it doesn't necessarily apply in your situation, but I want to make sure everybody is aware of something that was released on October 30th. It is the special circumstances of rate reform and what's called the exemption process. So let me go back to, I'm going to go back to rate reform updates. We're going to pull up special circumstances. All right. And I'm not going to read this word for word. This talks about what I just told you about deadlines. January 1st, the rate increase. March 31st, things have to be aligned. December 31st, IPPs have to be in place. It just kind of reiterates all of that. The first paragraph here talks about the AB 637 waivers. These are waivers that the department grants to regional centers to sometimes get around regs or statute and set rates in different ways. Not a lot of them. This is just basically saying for those, they will be telling us about how we will handle those. But this is the heart of the directive, which is exemption. If providers find that they don't align with services defined in the statute or the directives as part of rate reform, okay, then they have the right to go ahead and request an exemption, okay? The regional center actually requests the exemption, and they must be submitted. There's a form that is used, and it really applies to, and I'm going to share that, well, I'll come back to that. So I'm going to show you the service codes that are impacted by this, but just for your information. And again, some of you have other services that you provide. You're going to maybe in another meeting later with us about this. And then the rest of the directive goes on to talk about new vendorization and how the rates will be applied moving forward. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to show you enclosure A because this is sort of the heart of it. Okay. So these are the kinds of things where people may want to be requesting exemptions if they're feeling like this is not going to work for me. So these top service codes, the continued use of these service codes can only be done if the department approves. It was originally the intent of the rate reform to eliminate these service codes. However, they are going to stay in place. They're going to be sort of grandfathered in on a case-by-case basis. These service codes right here, they would have to go through the exemption process, meaning that the provider would need to make the argument, I can't align, it doesn't make sense, I don't align with any of these other service codes or these other models, it doesn't work for me, here's why. We would agree, and we would go to the department. These service codes down here, they're just going away. They're just going away. There's no ability to request an exemption. We have to find somewhere else another service code that would fit better to that particular provider and the services they're providing. So I did just want to make sure that everyone was aware of that particular directive as well. Again, these are all posted on the department's website. Any questions about that? Yes, Dora.
I wanted to jump in.
Yes.
As a former residential provider, day programs are so vital to the residents that live in them. The day program codes are going away, but it's the same thing. They will migrate into other codes. And so there will be no disruption in the services, just the same as there's no disruption for you. They will just be aligning into new service codes. Right. Those 505, 510, 515, the behavior management programs, all of that will just be made a little bit more complicated.
You can see here. No, thanks for pointing that out, Doris. And you can see here it does say that the intent is to transition them to these other service codes. So there is a plan that the department has for us to help those particular providers find the right sort of box to check off, right? So thank you, Doris, for sharing that.
Liz,
Yes.
if we have a 055 day program right now,
Uh-huh.
And we want to retain that service code next year.
Mhm.
It's the regional center's responsibility to request the exemption. We have to notify you that we would like to keep that service code. Any
Right.
form
And
or any
right, there
specific
is a form.
process?
And I'll tell you, our next meeting, our 1:30 meeting, right? We're talking
Right.
055. Are you going to be at that one?
Yes,
I
yes.
promise we'll probably go way in detail in that meeting on that.
Thank you.
But in a nutshell, you got it. Yeah, there's
Okay.
a form that'll have to be filled out. There's always a fill out
Form.
the form. We look at it, we decide, we move forward, and we request the exemption.
And when do you want those in by?
Well, we'll talk about that. I think they need to be on a flow basis. So I don't want to go too far into that meeting, but much like this meeting, we don't have a directive yet. So without something in writing from the department, I can't tell you, oh yeah, we want it, December 30th, because I don't know, what if they give us the directive December 15th, right? So we only know what we know. But as soon as we get it, you probably want to do it as soon as possible would be my
Great.
advice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
Liz, if I could just jump in,
Yes.
The thing to keep in mind with that is that there may be another service code that would be able to you would be able to get into that would fit. So again, just because 055 is familiar and you would like to keep it, that doesn't mean that that is going to be an exception that we would actually consider. Again, if your program, depending on, again, the facets of it, the components of it, fit into another, again, as I had just previously said, another service code that the department is identifying, and it fits that description, because again, we don't even have those descriptions yet. We kind of know that there are some service codes coming. And again, before getting too far into that, just something to consider. Again, it's not just, let's go ahead and submit these, these exemption requests, because there's so many facets to look at before doing so. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for pointing that out. Exactly. Yeah, we just don't know enough yet. All right. Well, I want to make sure we talk about that provider directory. And I'm hoping everyone's like, yes, I've already submitted information to the provider directory. I'm really hoping you've done that. If you haven't, you still have time, November 29th, but you've got to do it. So I'm going to introduce, well, first of all, let me take a step back. I'm excited that community services, our department has grown a little bit here at ELARC. We have a new supervisor. You may know her. Her name is Monique Perez. And one of the things that Monique does is she supervises, we have some new rates and vendorization coordinators in community services. And so everybody's new and fresh and hitting the ground running and working on the provider directory as part of their many tasks that they do. And so, Monique, I'm going to give it to you to talk a little bit about the directory, and you can share your screen or ask me to share whatever you need.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Monique Perez. As Liz mentioned, I am the supervisor for Unit 3 in Community Services. My unit is just getting assignments right now, and one of the assignments is the Service Provider Directory project. The coordinators and I have been reviewing the what is called the RITM. If you've already registered for the portal and for the directory, you are given almost like a ticket number, and so we are having to review the entries that are coming in. I don't have information on the turnaround time after a provider submits their information, but we are getting those coming into our regional center. And so if you do have questions about one of your entries that you've submitted, you might see either a comment or a request for documents coming from myself or from one of the coordinators in my unit. I do ask that you please keep any documents or any questions regarding the directory to the portal. There is an option to attach documents there. I do want to, I know everyone has their own community services specialist or liaison, but for purposes of the portal, so that the communication stays streamlined with my unit, I do ask that you keep it to the chat or the communication option in the portal. I did want to share a couple of links with you in case you haven't. As Liz mentioned, there is a new deadline, and that is November 29th. So there is a little hyperlink here I'm going to include. it's the November 29th deadline to still be eligible for the one-time lump sum incentive. There is a service provider training video on the DDS website. I'm going to include that link here. Sometimes some of the questions are addressed in the training video and DDS might refer you there. So it's a good place to start if you have questions. Some still have questions after watching that video, and DDS has provided their email address and their phone number. Please be patient. I know at all of their Zoom meetings, they continue to say or ask for patience from everybody because they are getting a lot of interest and requests for items. So if you haven't heard back, just be patient and follow up with DDS. One more link that I wanted to provide is to the email distribution list for updates. And that is there. I will provide my contact information as well. If you do have a question, maybe you've already submitted it and you've gotten a response back, but you are not sure if we've received it, I can go ahead and verify with the coordinators, or I can go through and check just to see if we have. One thing that I did want to share is that we are not able to make changes for you. Here we are only able to approve or decline. We are unable to make a change if maybe there's a typo or if you check something that should have been one field that should have been another, we can just decline and you would have to resubmit. So I will put my information here unless there are any questions for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Monique. Any questions on the provider directory? Is everybody started the provider directory?
Excuse me, I do have a question.
Great.
So I'm the administrator of two different providers. And so one of them I got information from to confirm information, but the other one I have not yet. So should I start the process again, all over again, or?
Monique, I think she should probably just reach out to the department before starting the process over and just confirm with them. What do you think?
I think so. I think you can reach out to the department. Are you saying there are two different vendor numbers?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't recall if it was in an email or maybe one of the Zooms. It was asked by another provider, and you need to submit one for every vendor number that you have.
Okay, thank you.
And at office hours
I have a question
with the department, between the department and regional centers, they told regional centers to expect that 400 new entries would hit next week and 700 the week after. So I think if you wait, contact the department definitely. But if you don't see anything after 2 weeks from today, then you might have to escalate. There is an email on the department website, and I'm not sure if there's a phone number for the service provider.
There is. I'm gonna go ahead. Let me pull that up, and I think that Monique also put that in the chat, but let's just if I go home.
Yeah, I did put there's an email address and a phone number. I did put that in the chat.
Right here. Bless you, whoever that was. Any questions?
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I did maybe I just wanted to clarify. We don't have to approve all items. There might be some items that come in that don't require any communication from me or from the coordinators. It's just if there is a question, maybe a discrepancy from the information we have, from what we're seeing, that we might reach out to you. But if you don't hear from us, it's not a bad thing either. It just maybe means that it went through automatically.
I have a question for Monique. I went ahead and did the process, and then I got the invite to confirm. I confirmed, but on the confirmation the DDS sent, it had a different vendor number than I'm a 905. It had transportation vendor number, and I reached out to them and told them that it was wrong And so I don't know where I'm supposed to get that corrected. It went through, it showed as approved. So I don't, like when I tried changing it, that was a field that was not fixable or changeable for me to confirm when I submitted with the invitation. So I'm just confused as to whether that's something I could work out with Monique, or should I reach out to the department again? I did reach out to the department and I haven't heard back.
Okay, I would say yes, go ahead and send that information, what you just said, go ahead and send it to me. I did put my email address in the chat, and then I can forward that to the department, but at least there is some kind of record of you trying to work it out.
Okay, because I did get the RITM number.
Okay,
so-
yeah,
so I
include that
could-
as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Monique. Any other questions, thoughts? Well, thank you for the work that you do every day, and thank you for giving me part of your Friday, and thank you for going through this with us, because we're gonna be getting together again. We're gonna be going through this. So thank you as we go through this together, and unless there's any other questions, we can go ahead and end, and I probably will see some of you in future meetings, maybe even at 1:30 today. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye.